I asked my students to fill in a questionnaire regarding their choice of career. They had the option to become managers, be involved in R&D, or be comfortable with either. The answers were left to them completely. I got a very mixed sort of a response. Some wanted to be managers, some wanted to be involved with R&D, others were comfortable with either. So it was a little difficult for me to exactly analyze the response in terms of the trend. But hey, once again, math came to my rescue. I'll solve this problem and much more for you when we get to the studio. So stay tuned. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. That's why the first step is very important. And to make sure that your first step is right, we are here on Math 11. I'm Shankar. Allow me to take you the rest of the way and point out some fun spots on the journey. You've already learned a lot about sets. Have a look at what's on the cards for today. Today we'll talk about how sets can be used for categorizing and counting. Following which, we will learn the applications of sets and Venn diagrams to solve practical problems. Finally, in our important section, Exam Decoded, we will provide you with pointers to succeed in your all-important exams. You all know that a set is a group of elements and different sets amount to different groupings of elements. So, can we combine them in different ways and count them? For example, by taking their union and intersection? Well, that's true. What's even better is that such operations are actually very meaningful in situations like statistical surveys, where you have to categorize responses, interpret them, and draw your conclusions. Before we begin, let's look at the visuals on your screen. So, what are the various things you can see in each row of the rack? You may say that there are various stationery items such as pencils, pens, glue, etc. But when we are dealing with sets, each group must have some specific elements in it, isn't it? So let's first categorize these elements into three sets, A, B and C, where the set A contains 5 elements, set B contains 3 elements, and set C contains 4 elements. Now you know that the number of elements in a set is called its cardinal number or cardinality. So the cardinal number of the sets A, B and C are, right, 5, 3 and 4 respectively. Now the total number of items present in all the three sets is, you're right, 12. Since there's no common element, the total number of elements in the disjoint sets is simply the sum of the individual cardinalities. This is the setting for what is known as the counting theorem. In its simplest version, given any two finite sets A and B that are disjoint, the number of elements in the union A union B is the sum of the number of elements in each set. Remember, they are disjoint. That was straightforward, but what if the two sets were not disjoint? Then things become a bit complicated because there are elements that are common to both of these sets. Note that in such cases, when we add the elements n of A to n of B, the elements of the overlap A intersection B are counted twice. How do you compensate this? Well, we simply subtract n of A intersection B, the overlap numbers, from n of A plus n of B. This gives us the exact number of elements in the set A union B. We have demonstrated that n of A union B is n of A plus n of B minus n of A intersection B. Now this same expression can be arrived at by counting the number of elements of the difference A minus B, the difference B minus A, and A intersection B. Remember what the difference is? A minus B the difference set is the set of all elements in A that are not in B. We will then get n of A union B is equal to n of A minus B plus n of B minus A plus n of A intersection B. As they say, many roads lead to Rome. These counting theorems are collectively known as the inclusion-exclusion principle. We will exploit this principle while discussing permutations and combinations. Of course, whenever you take a statistical survey, you end up categorizing your objects under study. Now, these categories define sets, and we count elements in their intersection or in their union to answer some fundamental questions. Well, all this will be covered in later episodes, but right now we have a caller who has some query. Let's hear the caller out.
Hello sir, thank you for taking up my question. My name is Nikhil and I would like to know what will happen to the cardinality of union of three sets if the sets are not disjoint.
Impressive, Nikhil. I'm very glad that you asked that question. I will answer this, but right after a short break, okay? So while you work on Nikhil's question, I'll go back to my puzzle. See you soon. Well, for those of you who've just tuned in, you're watching Math 11 with me, Shankar, and we are all set to answer Nikhil's question. To determine the cardinality of three disjoint sets, the inclusion-exclusion principle can be used repeatedly. Watch how it goes. The diagram on your screen will give you a better idea. Remember, Nikhil asked us to find the cardinality of the union A union B union C. We consider A as one set and B union C as the other set. Now what do? Straightforward. We apply the inclusion-exclusion principle. We have n of A union B union C is equal to n of A union B union C, which is equal to n of A plus n of B union C minus n of A intersection B union C. Now intersection is distributive. We have n of A intersection B union C is equal to n of A intersection B union A intersection C. We can apply the counting theorem for the two sets B union C and A intersection B union A intersection C. We then arrive at the final result, n of A union B union C is equal to n of A plus n of B plus n of C minus n of B intersection C minus n of A intersection B minus n of A intersection C plus n of A intersection B intersection C. You've learned the principle of inclusion and exclusion, but do you know who was among the first people to apply it? Well, here's the answer. This principle was used by Nicolas Bernoulli to solve the principle of finding the number of derangements. The Bernoulli family had a prominent roster of 8 mathematicians. They hailed from Basel in Switzerland, the place of residence of among the world's greatest mathematicians like Euler. Now, Nicolas formulated a famous problem in gambling known as the St. Petersburg paradox. This is based on a gambling game which pays out infinite earnings to the player if she chooses to play repeatedly. But if the rules of the game are twisted even slightly, then the earnings drop to an insignificant amount. Nicolaus corresponded with famous personalities like William Leibniz, who co-discovered calculus with Isaac Newton. As I told you at the beginning, I invited 10 students to take a survey. 5 of them hope to be involved lifelong in R&D, while 2 of them wish to become managers after they graduate from college. 3 of them said they would be comfortable with either role. Suppose we put the R&D and the managers in different camps, say R and M. Now the common mistake students make here is to set n of R is equal to 5 and n of M is equal to 2. Then how does one account for the overlap? Here's how we go about it. We know that n of R intersection M is 3. That's what we need to add to the individual camps to get the total membership. Therefore, n of R is equal to 5 plus 3, which is equal to 8. That's the number of people wishing to go into R&D. N of M is equal to 2 plus 3, which is equal to 5. Those people comfortable being managers. We can now answer the other questions, right? So that's how counting with sets becomes a walk in the park. And to further strengthen your problem-solving skills, let's take on a couple of problems. Consider a housing complex with 25 families, out of which 12 subscribe to the Hindu and 8 subscribe to the Hindu but not the Times of India. Also, every family subscribes to at least one newspaper. Find the number of families who A. subscribe to both the newspaper, B. subscribe to the Times of India but not the Hindu. To crack this problem, let A denote the set of families who subscribe to the Hindu and B denote the set of families who subscribe to the Times of India. We are given that n of A is equal to 12, n of A minus B is equal to 8 and n of A union B is equal to 25. Now n of A union B is equal to n of A plus n of B minus A, or n of B minus A is equal to 25 minus 12, which is equal to 13. Therefore, 13 families subscribe to the Times of India but not to the Hindu. This answers our first part. Now n of A union B is equal to n of A minus B plus n of B minus A plus n of A intersection B, or 25 is equal to 8 plus 13 plus n of A intersection B, or n of A intersection B is equal to 25 minus 21, which is equal to 4. Therefore, we can say that 4 families subscribe to both the newspapers. Well, that was one way to solve the problem. Another approach, of course, is by using Venn diagrams. To find out how a Venn diagram can be helpful in solving such a question, let's take up a practical problem. 26 people in a locality were surveyed regarding their pets. It was found that 14 had dogs, 10 had cats, and 5 had rabbits. 4 had dogs and cats, 3 had dogs and rabbits, and 1 had a cat and a rabbit. One big community of animal lovers, right? If no one has all 3 kinds of pets, how many people have no pets at all? Let's draw a Venn diagram and plug in the necessary numbers into the appropriate regions so that we can have a clear picture. As no one has all the 3 pets, we have, you're right, 0 in the overlap region of all the 3 circles. Note that 4 people have both dogs and cats, so we put in 4 in the overlap of dogs and cats. Similarly, 3 people have dogs and rabbits, So we put 3 in the overlap region of dogs and rabbits and 1 in the cats and rabbits overlap region. So out of a sum total of 14, we've accounted for 3 plus 4, which is equal to 7 dogs with the overlap regions. Therefore, 7 must not have any other pet. Similarly, we have accounted for 5 cats out of the total 10. So we place the remaining 5 in the exclusively cats region. Likewise, only one person ends up being an exclusive rabbit pet owner. We are now in a good position to derive our conclusions. The big question is, how many people with no pets? Assume that X people don't have any pets at all. Applying the inclusion-exclusion principle, we've learned this gives us X plus 7 plus 5 plus 1 plus 3 plus 4 plus 0 plus 1 is equal to 26. Simplifying, we get X is equal to 5. And what is X? X is those people that don't have any pet. 5 of them. In this episode, we have stuck to working with cardinalities that are finite. How about infinite sets? They may look daunting at first sight, but are as clear as daylight once you get cracking. To prove this, I have a story for you. 2 farmers, Mohan and Sohan, each want to plant a countably infinite row of seeds side by side in a field. Both the farmers have their pet birds that annoy them and hinder their efforts in funny ways. As Mohan walks along the row, dropping seeds, a bird picks up every 5th seed that he drops. So after Mohan finishes planting this row of seeds, are there any seeds left on the ground? Sure, you'd say, infinitely many of them. Remember, he keeps going on and on and on. But Sohan's bird behaves differently. After every 5th seed that Sohan drops, his bird picks up the first seed that remains in that row. After Sohan has finished planting his row of seeds, remember it's infinite, are there any seeds left? No! But that's strange. As both are working simultaneously and their birds pick up seeds at the same rate, how can this happen? Is this a paradox? You may say that they can never actually finish and therefore there is no paradox. Does it seem difficult to understand it? Don't worry, I'll tell you the mathematical logic behind this trivia. Also, stay tuned for the exam decoded section after the break. Welcome back. You're still watching Math 11 and I'm still Shankar. Well, I've made some progress with my puzzle pieces. How about you? You're still wondering about Mohan and Sohan, aren't you? Let's see how we can analyze their situation. The paradox of the seeds arises from the fact that we're dealing with infinite sets. And an infinite set can be put in one-to-one correspondence with a proper subset of itself. Even though both the birds have picked up seeds of the same cardinality, which is infinite, one is a proper subset of the other. That explains the bad time Sohan has been having on his feed. Time now for a quick recap. The number of elements in a set is called its cardinal number or cardinality, and the counting theorem. It's time now for the exam decoded section. Are you ready for my rapid fire round? Okay, don't forget to give yourself 1 mark for every right answer. Concentrate, think fast because there's no time to waste. Here it goes. If A is equal to 1, 4, 9, 16, then the cardinality n of A is equal to, your choices are A, 1, B, 2, C, 3, and D, 4. The correct answer is D. That was easy. Try this one. If n of A is equal to 4, n of B is equal to 6, and n of A union B is equal to 8, then n of A intersection B is equal to A, 2, B, 4, C, 6, D, 8. The correct answer is A. Good. You're fast. Third question. If n of A plus n of B is equal to n of A union B, then what can you say about the sets A and B? A equal, B equivalent, C disjoint, and D joint. C disjoint is the right answer. So you have worked on your concept. Fourth one. If U is the set of all alphabets and V is equal to A, E, I, O, U, then n of V complement is 5. True or false? The answer is false. And now gear up for my final question. You can't lose this one. If n of A is equal to n of B, then the two sets are equal. True or false? It is false. That brings us to the end of our rapid fire round. It's time now to discuss your scores. If 5 marks are what you have got on your scorecards, then you are this week's high flyer. 3 to 4 marks will make you an achiever. And anything 2 or below means you're still a learner. But don't worry, you just need to log on to www.topperlearning.com and you're well on your way to success. And to maximize your score, let me give you the tip of the topic. This topic usually tests your conceptual ability. A good understanding of Venn diagrams may boost your chances of securing all 4 marks that this topic may offer you. This topic is a part of the unit Sets and Functions, which is worth 29 marks in the final exam. And here is how you should write an ideal answer based on that very conceptual ability. A Mathematics Teachers Association awarded 38 medals in arithmetic, 15 medals in geometry, and 20 medals in trigonometry to toppers in a talent test. If a total of 58 students were awarded these medals and only 3 students got medals in all the 3 disciplines, how many received medals in exactly 2 out of these disciplines? We begin by taking A, G, and T as the set of students who received medals in arithmetic, geometry, and trigonometry respectively. We are given that the cardinality n of A is 38, n of G is 15, n of T is 20, n of A union G union T is 58, n of A intersection G intersection T is 3. Apply the inclusion-exclusion principle now. We have n of A union G union T is n of A plus n of G plus n of T minus n of A intersection G minus n of A intersection T minus n of G intersection T plus n of A intersection G intersection T. We are asked to calculate the number of medalists in exactly 2 disciplines. Substitute the supplied data into the equation and we have n of A intersection G plus n of A intersection T plus n of G intersection T is equal to n of A plus n of G plus n of T plus n of A intersection G intersection T minus n of A union G union T, which is equal to 38 plus 15 plus 20 plus 3 minus 58, which turns out to be 18. From the Venn diagram, it is clear that an overlap of 3 is counted thrice. This region must be eliminated from all the intersections in the sum. To help you with your exams, we have a special guest today. Pay attention to the pointers.
Hello everybody, my name is Kamlakar Dwivedi. Today you have learned the principles of set theory and how to use them in solving practical problems. Let me give you some tips on this topic. Always remember to put the right values at the right places in the formula to get the correct answer. When using Venn diagram to solve problems, always fill up the overlapping regions first, then start subtracting the overlapping regions from the complete circle. Whenever you analyze a problem, remember that you must give a proper notation to it so that you are able to proceed correctly to solve the problem. For example, if you have a word which is common to all the three sets, then it is the intersection of all the three circles and must be put in the overlapping region. And don't forget to draw the universal set. That's all for today. I hope you will remember these tips for your exams. Best of luck.
Hope you enjoyed working on sets. I leave you with a famous quote by Josh Cantor. He said, "A set is a many that allows itself to be thought of as a one." Goodbye and cheers.